Welcome to Doctorates of the Absurd, your provider of belief on demand.
It's good to be back. Ready for this one.
Today, we are opening up a research stack that feels less like a tech report and more like a psychological thriller. Seriously, it's about some of the world's wealthiest people, and it feels like they're just losing the plot.
That's a very, very good way to put it.
We're diving into a topic that, it usually triggers either intense fear or, on the other end, just intense boredom. But today, we are finding the absolute absurdity right in the middle.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We're looking at the current state of the artificial intelligence industry. And if I had to summarize the vibe of our research in just one phrase, it would be expensive chaos.
Expensive is right. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. That's GDP-level money.
It's staggering.
And it's all being poured into a single goal, a goal that, as we're about to find out today, is incredibly, almost comically, loosely defined. Artificial General Intelligence, AGI.
The holy grail. The machine that can supposedly think better than a human at any task you throw at it. It's the last invention humanity will ever need to create, as the saying goes.
But here's the central question we're really wrestling with in this deep dive.
Yeah.
Is this godlike machine arriving this year? Or is it maybe a decade away?
Or, and this is the truly weird part from the sources, did it already happen and we just missed it?
I know, it sounds ridiculous.
It sounds absurd, but that is a genuine debate happening right now at the highest levels of Silicon Valley. The timeline hasn't just shifted, it has completely fractured. There is no consensus anymore.
Okay, so to set the mood, let's pull out 3 what we're calling audio hooks from our research stack.
Damn.
These are the things that really just stop me cold. Hook number 1.
Lay it on me.
Imagine a world where the CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman, says the biggest revolution in human history, AGI, just went whooshing by, and we didn't even notice.
Which is just a staggering claim. I mean, think about that. You spend $100 billion on a revolution. You promise this rupture in the fabric of history, and then you turn around and claim nobody noticed it.
Exactly. It's like missing the apocalypse because you were checking your email. It makes no sense.
It doesn't.
All right, hook number 2. We are spending billions on machines that can write software code but still struggle to draw a clock or solve a simple logic puzzle.
The paradox of the idiot savant. We're definitely going to have to get into that spiky intelligence later. It's like the defining characteristic of this whole moment.
For sure. And, okay, hook number 3, which might be the most telling. The future isn't Terminator. It's a chatbot showing you advertisements and helping you write sales emails.
Well, that's perhaps less cinematic, I'll grant you. But it's much, much more profitable for the shareholders. And that right there, that is the crux, the whole pivot we're seeing.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really deconstruct this squishy reality of AGI. We're going to analyze the conflicting predictions of the world's biggest tech CEOs, and we're going to try to figure out why the narrative is shifting so dramatically from saving humanity to, well, selling products.
It's a fascinating and, frankly, a very telling pivot. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's unpack this first big idea. We need to start with what we're calling the narrative arc. Because for a long time, the story was simple. It felt linear. We're building a god. It will be here soon. Prepare yourselves.
Right. And if you go back just 2 years, I mean, think late 2022, early 2023, right when ChatGPT first just exploded onto the scene, the consensus was incredibly tight. It was almost weirdly synchronized.
What do you mean by synchronized?
All the major labs, OpenAI, Google DeepMind, Anthropic, they all generally agreed that AGI was coming in the late 2020s.
Like 2027, 2028, somewhere in there?
Exactly. It was a clear target on the calendar. It was close enough to be exciting, close enough to raise massive amounts of capital on, but just far enough away that you didn't have to, deliver it tomorrow.
So it was a shared delusion, but a stable one.
A shared hallucination, in a way, yeah. But it was stable. Everyone was reading from the same script.
But now, reading through these reports, that map is completely blurring. The listener, and frankly the entire industry, is stuck in this state of high-stakes confusion. We were promised a destination, but now all the drivers are arguing about where the car is even going.
It's actually, I think, a bit worse than just arguing about the destination. They're arguing about what time it is. They're arguing about whether we've even left the driveway yet.
Okay, so let's get into those conflicting timelines, because they really are all over the place now.
They are. On the one hand, you have the accelerators. These are the people who still have the pedal to the floor. They're saying we're almost there.
And who are we talking about here? Who's in this camp?
Primarily Dario Amodei from Anthropic, and of course Elon Musk with his new company, XAI.
And they are still bullish, right? They haven't blinked on this at all.
Extremely bullish.
Yeah.
Both of them have gone on record recently predicting that a powerful system, what they essentially mean is AGI could go online by the end of 2026.
2026. Wait, let's pause on that for a second.
Yeah.
That is basically tomorrow in tech development cycles. We're recording this in early 2026.
It is imminent. And the stakes they describe are, I mean, they're biblical. They aren't talking about a better search engine or a more helpful chatbot.
So what are they talking about?
Amodei is talking about systems that could compress a century of scientific progress into just a few years. He's talking about curing cancer, solving fusion, mental health breakthroughs.
Wow. Okay, that sounds amazing.
It does. It sounds like utopia. But conversely, in the same breath, he admits these exact same systems could be used to design novel bioweapons. The duality is extreme. It's either heaven or hell, arriving in about 18 words.
That's a heavy timeline. It's interesting you mentioned Amodei, though. In the notes, it says he's actually stopped using the term AGI. Why would he do that if he's so bullish?
That's a really sharp observation. He has pivoted to the term powerful AI. And I think what's going on there is he's trying to step away from all the sci-fi hype baggage that AGI now carries.
So it's a branding move?
It's partly a branding move, yeah. The term AGI has been, polluted by too many movies and too many broken promises. So he wants to sound like the serious adult in the room, the responsible scientist.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, his timeline, 2026, is incredibly aggressive. It implies a slope of improvement that is nearly vertical from where we are now.
Okay, so that's it's almost here camp, the hold on to your hats brigade.
Yeah.
But then you have Demis Hassabis at Google DeepMind. And from what I'm reading, he seems to be the one tapping the brakes in this speeding car.
He absolutely is. Hassabis has always positioned himself as the methodical, long-term scientist in this whole drama. And you have to remember, he founded DeepMind way before the current hype cycle, way back in 2010. He's been thinking about this for a very, very long time.
And what's his forecast now? How does it compare?
He recently said we might be waiting another decade for true AGI.
A decade. Wow. That's a lifetime for investors. That's an eternity in Silicon Valley time. 2035 is a different world.
It is. And he's not just saying it'll take longer. He's explicitly warning against using AGI as a marketing term.
Which is a pretty spicy thing to say when your direct competitors are literally using it as their main sales pitch to raise billions of dollars.
Precisely. It's a very subtle but very pointed dig. He's essentially saying, we're doing science, you guys are doing PR. He's suggesting that the current models, while impressive, might be missing some fundamental piece of the puzzle. That just scaling them up, just making them bigger and feeding them more data might not be enough to get to true human-level reasoning.
So we've got the accelerator screaming 2026, and the scientists calmly saying, maybe 2035. But then we have the wildest card of them all. Sam Altman at OpenAI. And this is the part of the research that honestly made me laugh out loud.
I think I know what you're talking about. The whooshing comment.
Yes, the whooshing comment. Altman is now claiming that AGI kind of went whooshing by already. What does that even mean?
Yes. That interview was a pivotal moment. He suggested that we might have already crossed that threshold and not even realized it. And because of that, he has now shifted the goalpost. He's no longer talking about AGI as the target. He's talking about superintelligence.
Hold on. Let's really unpack the psychology of that. It went whooshing by. It feels a bit like gaslighting, doesn't it? Like, oh, you didn't see the miracle. I guess you weren't looking closely enough.
It certainly allows him to reset expectations, doesn't it? I mean, think about it. If AGI is the big goal and you release GPT-4 and people say, hey, it still hallucinates facts and it can't solve basic logic puzzles, then you failed. The public says, this isn't a god, this is just a chatbot.
Right. And then the disappointment sets in, and maybe the funding dries up.
But if you turn around and say, oh, AGI, that old saying, yeah, we did that already. Turns out AGI is actually really boring. It's just a computer that can learn new things. We already did that. Now we're building superintelligence.
You buy yourself a whole new runway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You move the goalpost to the next mountain range over. It's a brilliant rhetorical maneuver to keep the valuation sky high while simultaneously lowering the bar for what general intelligence actually means in the first place.
So we missed the arrival of the god because the god was underwhelming.
Apparently. Or the definition was so vague and so squishy that we walked right through it without even bumping our heads.
That is just incredibly convenient. But let's look at why this all matters so much. We have these industry leaders who, less than 2 years ago, were all singing from the same hymn sheet. Now, that consensus has been completely scrubbed away. Why did it fall apart so fast?
Well, I think to understand that, we have to introduce the villain of this story. And the villain isn't a person. It isn't Musk or Altman or Hassabis. The villain is a concept. The villain is ambiguity. Or maybe a better name is the moving goalpost.
Ambiguity. Tell me more about that. Why is a simple lack of definition a villain?
Well, the term AGI, or artificial general intelligence, has always been shaky. It's a really squishy concept. If we go back into the history, the idea of a machine that can do anything a human can do, that arose in the mid-20th century. But we never really defined what doing or thinking truly meant.
Right, and that leads us to the Turing test from 1950. Alan Turing, the imitation game.
Exactly. Turing said, effectively, look, this is too hard to define, so let's use a proxy. If a machine can convince a human that they're talking to another person, then for all intents and purposes, that's intelligence. It was a behavioral test. It didn't care about what was happening inside the machine, only the output.
And we've passed that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
ChatGPT sounds completely human. If I were just texting with it, I probably wouldn't know.
We have smashed it to pieces. But here's the big twist in the story. The Turing test failed.
It failed. How? I thought passing it was the ultimate goal.
It failed as a metric for intelligence. The test has been passed multiple times over the years by programs that are definitively not intelligent. They're just very clever chatbots, good at mimicry. They are convincing, but they aren't thinking. So the Turing test turned out to be more of a test of human gullibility than it was of machine sentience.
That is a great point. We are so easily fooled.
We are. We project consciousness onto anything that uses first-person pronouns and seems coherent. So, because the Turing test turned out to be a really bad metric, the entire field was left without a clear finish line. We achieved the imitation part, but we quickly realized the intelligence part was still missing.
So what replaced it? If the Turing test is effectively dead, what's the new standard for AGI?
That is the whole problem. Nothing concrete ever replaced it. In the early 2000s, you have researchers like Shane Legg, who, not coincidentally, later co-founded DeepMind, and he established AGI not as a specific finish line, but more as a field of study.
Where's the distinction there?
He wanted to distinguish general systems from narrow ones, like a chess computer.
Right, like Deep Blue could beat Kasparov at chess, but it couldn't book a flight or tell a joke or do literally anything else.
Exactly. A chess computer is a genius at chess and a complete idiot at everything else. And AGI, in theory, should be generally capable across many domains. Legg and others tried to formalize this, but it remained very abstract. There was never a broad agreement on how you would actually test for that generality.
And this is where the villain wins. This ambiguity, this lack of a clear test, allows companies to market intelligence without ever having to prove they've actually achieved it.
It's a feature, not a bug, for their business model.
How so?
Because if intelligence is undefined, they can sell the feeling of intelligence. It enables OpenAI or Google to run these questionable advertisements claiming their chatbot is an ideal travel agent or a brilliant creative partner. If you can't measure it, you can claim anything you want.
It's like selling wellness. What is wellness? No one really knows, but I'll pay $50 for this green juice because it feels like I'm doing something.
Exactly. And that brings us to the high stakes. We aren't just talking about academic definitions or expensive juice here. We are talking about money. Real money.
Immense amounts of money. These hundreds of billions of dollars are being justified by the promise of this all-powerful, godlike machine.
Investors are not pouring that kind of cash into a slightly better smell checker. They are paying for the God machine. They are paying for the thing that replaces most human labor, the thing that creates infinite wealth and upends society.
But if the God doesn't arrive, or worse, if the God shows up and it turns out to just be a really good autocomplete,
then you have a bubble, a massive historic bubble. The industry is facing a bubble-like moment because if the magic isn't real or if the magic starts to plateau, the entire business model has to change instantly.
and that's a painful change.
It's a brutal drop. You go from being a company valued at trillions because you literally own the future to a company valued at a few billion because you sell enterprise software.
And that pivot, that fear, is exactly what we're seeing play out in real time, which leads us perfectly into the engine room. We need to understand the underlying logic driving this huge shift from magic to merchandise.
Right, and if we look at the core binary that's driving all the source material, the central conflict is between mythology and merchandise. Or, if you prefer a different framing, it's God versus the tool.
I love that distinction. It feels like there's this incredible tension between the founding mission of these labs, which was incredibly lofty and philosophical, and the harsh reality of just running a business.
Think about the early days of OpenAI. It was practically a monastery. You had Ilyas Sutskever, their chief scientist, an absolute legend in the field. He was literally encouraging employees to feel the AGI.
Feel the AGI. That is wild. That sounds like a chant from a cult documentary.
It does. It was spiritual. The atmosphere was supposed to be intense. The mission was to ensure AGI benefits all of humanity. It was about safety, about the future of the species. It was about carefully building a benevolent deity.
But just look at the current reality. What is OpenAI actually doing today, right now?
They're releasing a web browser. They're launching their own social media apps. They are actively exploring putting advertisements inside of ChatGPT.
That is a long, long way from saving humanity. That sounds like, well, it sounds like Google in 2005 or Netscape in 1998.
Exactly. The mythology is being stripped away piece by piece. And it's not just OpenAI. Look at Microsoft, the biggest partner. Satya Nadella is extremely explicit about this. He calls AI a tool. Full stop. He says his benchmark isn't creating sentient life, it's achieving 10% global GDP growth.
Which is the most CEO thing anyone has ever said. I don't care if it has a soul. I care if it increases quarterly earnings for the next decade.
Precisely. And then you even have government figures like the White House advisor Shrum Krishnan, who is on the record saying AI is a very useful technology that has, and this is a direct quote, nothing to do with general intelligence. So the mythology is being systematically dismantled by the very people deploying the tech.
So what is the hidden mechanism here? What's the rule that governs this shift? Why does the magic always seem to fade?
I think we can call it the normalization trap.
The normalization trap. Okay, how does that work?
It's the idea that as soon as a revolutionary technology becomes a product people actually pay for and use in their daily lives, it ceases to be magic. It just becomes normal technology.
Ah, I see. It's like how electricity was probably absolutely mind-blowing when it was new. Look, we've captured lightning in a jar, but now I just get annoyed if my toaster doesn't work.
That is the perfect analogy. When technology works reliably, it becomes invisible. It becomes boring. There are two researchers, Arvind Narayanan and Sayash Kapoor, who describe this really well in the source material. They say AI is becoming an invention that will change society in real but gradual ways, just like smartphones did, or the internet before them.
But the consequence of that normalization is that the hype just evaporates. You can't charge a magic premium on a toaster. The valuation has to come back down to earth.
And when the hype evaporates, you can't run on vibes and promises anymore. You have to carve out a distinct identity based on actual utility. If you aren't building God, you have to explain to customers why your tool is better than the other guy's tool.
You know, we can see these distinct corporate identities forming in real time in the source material. It's like watching a bunch of teenagers trying to find their clique in a high school cafeteria. Let's break them down.
Sure. So OpenAI is clearly trying to morph into the everything app.
What does that mean?
They want to be your browser, your search engine, your creative partner, your coding assistant. They are integrating ads. They are trying to become the new portal to the internet, the thing you open first.
So they're the popular kid. They're the quarterback, or at least they're desperately trying to be the center of everyone's attention.
Trying to be, yes. They want to be the default interface for your digital life. Then you have Anthropic.
And what's Anthropic's clique?
Anthropic is positioning itself as the responsible option. They're the stern parent, or maybe the student council president. They have these tools like Claude Code and Claude Cowork that are aimed squarely at enterprise customers. They're selling safety and reliability to big businesses who are, frankly, scared of OpenAI's chaotic, move fast and break things culture.
So their pitch is, buy from us. Our AI won't call your customers bad names or leak your corporate secrets.
Exactly. We are the safe pair of hands in this crazy new world. And then, of course, there's XAI.
XAI is the edgy option, clearly. That's the kid smoking behind the bleachers.
Without a doubt. Their model, Grok, is integrated directly into X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. It's designed to have an attitude, to be controversial. It's the AI for people who are tired of woke AI. It's a cultural play just as much as it is a technological one.
And finally, that leaves DeepMind, Google's group.
DeepMind is playing the slow role. They are the big, established kid who doesn't need to prove anything. They are slowly integrating their model, Gemini, into the absolutely massive Google ecosystem. Gemini isn't just a chatbot. It's quietly improving your shopping experience in Google Search. It's helping organize your Gmail inbox. It's feature integration, not a standalone revolution.
So in the space of 2 years, we have gone from we are all on a sacred mission to build the same God to I'm selling a browser, he is selling a corporate compliance tool, and that guy over there is selling a funny tweet bot.
That is the reality of the market taking over the mythology. It is the splintering of the grand unified dream into distinct competing market segments.
This is a perfect time to transition to our concept decoder. We've thrown around a lot of these big loaded terms, AGI, superintelligence, benchmarks. But the source material really emphasizes that these words are being weaponized in a marketing war. We need to arm the listener against the hype.
Agreed. Let's break down 4 of the most important and most misused terms in this space.
Okay, term number 1, AGI, artificial general intelligence. We've touched on this a lot, but give me the clean cocktail party definition versus the messy reality.
Simply put, the cocktail party definition is a computer that can think as well as a human at any cognitive task, not just chess, but writing a beautiful poem, planning a military coup, or consoling a grieving friend. It's universal competence. It's the point where the machine becomes a true peer.
But the reality check from our source material is that this definition is, and I'm quoting here, squishy.
It is incredibly squishy. As we discussed, there's absolutely no agreement on how to test for it. For a while, it was a marketing boon, a fantastic way to raise money and attract talent. But now it's becoming a liability because people are starting to ask, okay, so where is it? If you promise universal competence and you deliver a bot that can't reliably reverse a string of text, you have a credibility problem.
Right. And the quote from the research that really sums this up is, the idea of a generally intelligent computer program has always been a shaky idea.
It's a foundational crack in the entire industry's narrative. It's a goal that seems to move every single time you get close to it.
Okay, turn number 2, superintelligence. This is Sam Altman's new favorite word, his new goalpost.
Right. The cocktail party definition here is an AI that isn't just human level, but is significantly better at specific high-level strategic jobs than any single human.
Give me an example. What kind of job are we talking about here? Writing emails better.
No, much bigger. The examples Altman gives are things like being president of the United States or being the CEO of a major multinational company. He claims he's focused on this now because, and we have to say it again, AGI kind of went whooshing by.
I still just can't get over that phrase. It's so dismissive and yet so clever.
It's brilliant marketing. If AGI is just human level, well, let's be honest, most individual humans aren't that impressive at most tasks. So he's saying, oh yeah, we did the human thing, that was easy. Now we're doing the superhuman thing. It distracts from all the flaws of the current models by promising something even grander and more abstract just over the horizon.
Moving on, term number 3, benchmarks. These are the tests, right? We see these charts all the time in tech news. Our new model scores 99% on the bar exam.
Yes, think of them as the SATs for robots. They're meant to be standardized tests to prove how smart the model is across various domains like law, medicine, math, and so on.
But there's a huge problem with them, according to this deep dive.
A fundamental problem. They are highly gameable.
How so? Explain that to me like I'm 5. What does it mean for a test to be gameable?
Okay. Imagine if, before you took the SATs, someone gave you the official answer key, and you just spent months memorizing it. Question 4 is C, question 5 is A. You go in on test day, fill in the bubbles, and you get a perfect score. Now, are you a genius, or did you just memorize the answers?
I just memorized them. I don't actually know calculus. I just know the pattern of the answers on that specific test.
That's the problem. Large language models are trained on basically the entire public internet. And guess what's on the internet? The questions and the answers to many of these benchmarks. So are the models actually reasoning their way to the answer, or are they just spitting back the answers they saw in their training data? It's almost impossible to know for sure.
That is a crucial distinction. It's the difference between genuine understanding and just being a very sophisticated parrot.
And the source makes a great comparison here to make this intuitive. A human chess grandmaster might lack street smarts. A literary theorist might struggle with algebra.
Right? Humans are spiky too. We have strengths and weaknesses.
But AI is extremely spiky. It can be a certified genius at writing Python code, but a complete idiot at common sense reasoning. And the benchmarks often fail to capture that lack of general, robust understanding. The quote from the text is just damning. It is unclear whether AI labs are really measuring general capabilities at all.
So it's like measuring the top speed of a car to determine if it's a good boat. You're using the wrong metric for the wrong task.
Exactly. It looks impressive on a chart, but it doesn't tell you the whole story.
Which brings us to our final term, number 4, normal technology.
This is the term that really deflates the entire bubble. The cocktail party definition is pretty simple. Tech that is useful, that people pay for, and that is adopted gradually. It's not a sudden, godlike rupture in history. It's just a tool. A powerful tool, but a tool nonetheless.
And what are the signifiers of normal technology? How do I know when I'm looking at it in the wild?
Billboards.
Billboard.
Yes, seriously. When you see a billboard on the highway for an AI-powered accounting tool, or you get a sales email that promises streamlining your back-office workflows, or a company boasts about its SOC2 paperwork, you are looking at normal technology. You are not looking at a god.
That is a hilarious image. Zeus filling out compliance forms for the cloud.
Exactly. Gods don't do SOC2 compliance paperwork. Gods don't care about enterprise security certifications. Normal businesses do. The quote here that nails it is, an invention that will spread across society and change it in real but gradual ways.
And that is a very, very different investment thesis than the last invention humanity will ever create.
It dramatically lowers the ceiling on the hype, but it also raises the floor on the reality. It means the tech is real and it's here to stay, even if it isn't divine. It means it stays, but it doesn't necessarily ascend to godhood.
So what does this all mean? This is where it gets really, really interesting for me. We need to talk about the aha moment of this deep dive, because there's a specific trajectory that seems to explain everything we're seeing.
Yes. And to get there, we need to look at the harder case to make. We need to talk about the possibility of technical stagnation.
Stagnation, that seems counterintuitive. I feel like I see a new, mind-blowing AI demo every single week on social media.
You see demos, yes. You see marketing videos. But are you seeing fundamental qualitative leaps? The source material points out that the new generations of these bots are yielding only marginal improvements over the last ones.
Marginal. That seems harsh. We went from GPT-3 to GPT-4 pretty fast, and that felt like a huge jump.
It was a massive jump. But the jump from 4 to 5, or 4 to whatever Orion or Gemini 2 is, it's proving to be much, much harder. There's a growing sense that we're hitting a plateau. The models are getting bigger, they're consuming more electricity than small countries, but they're not necessarily getting smarter in the way we all expected.
And they still fail at the absolute basics.
They do. It's kind of embarrassing, really. They still struggle with trivial tasks, like drawing a clock.
Drawing a clock. Explain that.
If you ask an image generator to draw a simple clock face, it often messes up the numbers. It'll put a 13 where the 12 should be, or it'll put the hands in physically impossible positions. It doesn't understand what a clock is or how it works. It just knows what pixels usually go near other pixels in pictures of clocks it's seen. It's mimicry, not understanding.
The logic puzzles, right?
Simple logic. You know, I have 3 apples, I eat 1, how many do I have left? It can usually do that now. But if you make it just slightly more tricky with a bit of a misdirection, it collapses. We have these machines that can solve competition-style math problems, stuff that would stump a PhD, but they fail at things a toddler can reason through.
That's the spiky intelligence we talked about. Again, it's incredibly high-functioning in some narrow areas, but brittle and shallow everywhere else.
It creates this huge disconnect. And this technical plateau is what forces the business pivot. If you can't build the god quickly, if you can't just scale your way to superintelligence by throwing more computers at the problem, you have to start selling the partial flawed god that you have.
And here it is, the master analogy that brings it all home. The text compares this entire industry shift to the story of Google X versus Waymo.
This is the perfect comparison. It explains everything. Think back a decade ago. Google X was the moonshot factory. It was secret, futuristic. They were working on autonomous driving. And the promise was going to change the world overnight. No more car ownership. Cities would be completely redesigned.
Right, it was pure sci-fi. I remember thinking my kids would never need to get a driver's license.
But what actually happened? Years passed. The problems turned out to be way harder than anyone expected. Driving in the rain. Driving in the snow, dealing with unpredictable pedestrians. Eventually, the magic wore off, and Google spun it out as a real company called Waymo. And what is Waymo today?
It's a taxi service. I used one in Phoenix. It was fine. It drove very slowly. It followed the rules perfectly. It cost about the same as an Uber. It was not a revolution.
Exactly. It's a plodding, heavily regulated, functional service. It is a business. It is not magic anymore. It works, but it didn't change the fundamental definition of what a city is. The AI industry is now moving from its Google X phase, the moonshot God-building phase, to its Waymo phase, the boring, functional product phase.
And the source material explicitly compares DeepMind to this dynamic. They're becoming the Waymo of AI, just another useful feature inside the giant Google machine.
And then you have the alternative analogy, which is just as telling, the Elon Musk empire.
Oh, this is fascinating. Musk is trying to converge everything he owns, Tesla, SpaceX, XAI, into one giant intelligent machine play.
He is. He's talking about abandoning cheap cars to focus on building robots. He's talking about merging SpaceX and XAI, but the source points out this follows his standard, well-worn playbook.
Which is what, exactly?
Grand promises and delivering them far, far behind schedule. Full self-driving has been coming next year for, 10 years now?
It's the ultimate hype cycle. But the industry as a whole is starting to question the sustainability of this current boom. They have to.
They absolutely have to. Altman, Amodei, Hassabis, all of them, in their own ways, admit that the current level of spending is bubble-like. You cannot spend $100 billion on data centers if your primary revenue comes from people paying $20 a month for a subscription to help them write better sales emails. The math just doesn't work.
So the economics of building a god work if you actually invent cold fusion or cure cancer.
Right. But the economics of building a better spell checker do not support trillion-dollar valuations.
So the new justification has to be
Is it?
sell products, sell ads, sell subscriptions.
Follow the money. The only way to justify the billions already spent is to monetize the user. You, me, everyone.
And the irony is just so palpable. The grand path to superintelligence looks a lot like an ad-supported web browser from 1999.
It does. We were promised Skynet, and what we got was Netscape Navigator with a chatbot built in.
Which leads us to the mic drop quote of this entire deep dive. This one sentence really sums it all up.
Lay it on us.
If AI is indeed a normal technology, then the labs developing it need to start making money like normal businesses.
And that is the cold shower the entire industry is being forced to take right now. You can't just burn cash forever in the name of pure research if what you're actually selling is a consumer software product. You have to show profit margins. You have to deal with customer churn. You have to be a real boring business.
So let's just recap this whole journey. We started with the clear, exciting promise of 2026, the year the god arrives, but we found that consensus has completely shattered.
The timelines are scattered to the wind. The definitions are squishy and self-serving. AGI is being quietly replaced by superintelligence or powerful AI, depending on who you ask, mostly to dodge the fact that the goalpost keeps moving further away.
We identify the real villain of the story as ambiguity, this lack of a clear definition that allows companies to sell the idea of intelligence without ever having to deliver the proof.
And we saw the normalization trap in action. The magic is fading away, being replaced by billboards for accounting software and promises of enterprise-grade reliability.
And finally, we realize we are now firmly in the Waymo phase. The sci-fi moonshot is becoming a functional, if slightly boring, taxi service.
It's a maturing industry,
Yeah.
and that's less exciting for the headlines, perhaps, but it's ultimately more real and probably a lot safer for everyone involved, to be honest.
So here is our final provocative thought for you, the listener. I want you to actually do this. Take out your phone, open up that AI app you use the most. Maybe it helps you write emails. Maybe it helps you plan your travel. Maybe it just makes funny pictures for you.
And look at it. Look at it closely.
Are you looking at a toddler god learning to walk? Are you witnessing the birth of a new form of consciousness that will eventually outthink all of humanity? Or are you just looking at a very expensive, slightly better spell checker?
The answer to that question determines the fate of hundreds of billions of dollars, and frankly, it might determine the future of the entire global economy for the next decade.
If it's a god, the price they're paying is cheap. If it's just a spell checker, we are in for a very, very interesting correction.
Indeed.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening to Doctorates of the Absurd.
Keep questioning the absurd.
See you next time.